This is the second quick hymn analysis that is for my second term first years theory students. They can watch along and make sure that they're getting all the salient points of doing analysis, prepping for their final. You could get something like this. We need to get the key, the cadences, the chords with the correct quality and function number, and then figured bass. And if we find a 6/4 triad, a second inversion triad, we have to name what kind of triad it is. Okay. And this is a more famous hymn than the last one we did. It's Rock of Ages. You know, hopefully it's familiar to you, right? It's that one, right? And then, right? And looking away. Sorry, I'm doing this blind at the piano while I'm looking at the music there. And you know, it keeps going from there. It goes bum ba bum 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 ba bum 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 bum. And then this is very similar at the bottom to the very first one, right? Okay, so good guess that it's in major. Most hymns are in major. There are a few that are not, but you can always guess. Two flats, thinking B flat, not G minor. Right, and we have a B flat, D, and F, so I'm pretty sure that we're in the key of B flat. Cadence, right? Is that a cadence? Or are they just partial, sort of like not cadences but phrases? I don't know. Bum ba dum bum bum ba dum ba da 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 da. Cadence right there. Yeah, we'll call these cadences. Feels cadencey. If the chord changes and makes a cadence structure, it's a cadence. If it's not, then we won't. Right? And then we just look again. Cadences are going to be 1 and 5 chords, so we're looking for B flat chords or F/F7 chords right here. B flat, D, B flat. It's missing the 5th, but that's totally fine. It's my 1 chord. And here's my 5 chord, F, right? C, A, and E flat. It's got a 7th on it. 5, 7, right? And this is a root position, and that's a root position. That's the root at the top. That's a PAC right there. Because of that, I don't expect we're going to find any, what do we call it? We won't find any period structures in this, because we're starting with a perfect authentic cadence, right? So this is more up to the cantata style stuff than maybe the classical forms that come later. And then here we have another B flat chord, and it looks like an F, A, F, E flat. You know, there's the rest of the chord there. This is another 5, 7, right? And going to a number 1, that's a perfect authentic cadence as well. And this is identical. So we'll just PAC ourselves there in 5, 7, and 1. And then this is all the same if you look all the way through pretty much, except for these chords right here at the top and these chords at the bottom. Otherwise, it's identical. So we're going to have a PAC right there. All right. Like I said, mostly we're looking for 1s and 5 chords. Occasionally we'll find a predominant before one of the 5 chords, right? And when we find a chord that can be made into, you know, a 6/4 or a second inversion triad, that's one of the focuses from this term. We want to name what it is, put brackets around it or brackets under it if it's a cadential tonic 6/4. Remember that those are passing chords, pedal chords, and tonic 6/4 cadential, right? Those are the 3. You could have arpeggiating or melodic bass, but that's not the case here. So these are the ones we want to focus on. All right, here we go. 1 chord. See all this stuff right here? It says 1 chord. That looks different. We will investigate this because it's possible that it's an inversion. And then another 1 chord. And then B flat stuff's 1 chord. So this is different. That's different. And then that's back to a 1 chord. And then we have to look at all this with the, you know, that's different with the E flat. That's the Fa. This is so, you know, there we go. So let's take a look here at this to begin with. 1, but E flat and G above, that's a E flat, G, B flat chord. That is a 4 chord. in first inversion. We'll put a bracket around it. Notice that this looks like a pedal tone. We always look at the bass line holding out through there. So we label this with pedal, like that. Still back to a 1 chord. In other words, this was not functional, ergo the brackets, it's linear, and that's a 1 chord. And this is a 1 chord again, but the D is now in the lower part, so we have to put that right there. This is my E flat chord, like this, but in root position, so there's my 4, right? Here's my 1 chord again, but B flat, D is in the bass right there, so it's a 1-6. And finally, we get a F, A, F, C. That's my 5 chord right there. Okay, let's draw into our cadence right here. We have a 5 chord coming up. This is probably going to be some kind of predominant. You see how the bass line's the same here, but the notes are moving down. That tells me it's probably a tonic 6-4, right? So let's take a look at this. B flat, D, F, and F. The Fs are doubled. This is a 1-6-4 right there. We have to bracket this. I know there's not a lot of room, and we'll call it all a 5 chord. This is a predominant right here. This is Fa. This is Re, right? This is La. So this is a C, E flat, G, or my 2 chord, which we like to see just before, right? Just before our dominance. First inversion right there. Okay, cool. Next line. See all these Fs right here? Tells me that we're thinking about 5 chords and then the 1 chord. And so maybe this is a cadence. Maybe it's just like 5-1, 5-1. This is identical to this. We're only going to analyze this one here and just know that it's the same, okay? So this is an F, A, C. That's my 5 right there. These are crawling up like passing notes. However, just like up here at the top where we had a 4-6-4, this makes a 1-6-4. We have to bracket it. It's not near a cadence. It's going to be passing or pedal. This looks like a pedal tone. We always look at the bass. It's another pedal tone right there, right? This is my 5 chord again, but with the 7th right there, F, A, C, right? So 5-7, right? All the way through, all the way through. It's all 5-7 all the way through. And that's the same. Okay, cool. This is exactly the same as this. Like exactly note for note the same. And you can't blame them for that, right? You want it to be strong, you want it to work, and you want it to be singable by a lay choir or congregation. So that's fine. The only thing that's different, by the way, this is all the same right here at the top as it is right here. The only thing that's different is that's different than this right there. So let's take a look at this. This was a 1 chord, right? And this was a 1 chord right. Oh, it's different right here too. Okay. So, but let's take a look here. G, B flat, D, B flat. So that's a G chord. G, B, D flat 6 then? Is it? 6. Yeah. That would be G, B flat, D, and that's going to be my 6. Now, you can call those passing tones if you want, but you can also say, does that make another chord? C, E flat, G, B flat is my C minor chord, which is a 2 chord. 5th is in the bass, 4-3, right? And, you know, it's sort of nice because we like 2s to go to 5s more than we like 6s, although they can. So depends on how you look at it. If you can catch that chord there, that goes 6-2, and this will be my 5, which is a 1-6-4, B flat, D, Fs, 1-6-4s. This is a 5. This is another 1-6-4, and this is it's a 5-7. Sorry, 5-7, and then a 1. So it's slightly aligned differently to get into here because we go 6-2, and then this whole thing is a cadential tonic 6-4, 5. Sort of like a bed of them all together, like that. Okay, what's our phrases look like? We have one phrase that goes for 4 measures, ends in a perfect authentic cadence. We'll call it A. I'm in the key of B flat, right there, right? Then I have 2 short little 2-measure phrases, which we're going to call B and B because they're identical, and they have little packs at the end of them too, right? So this is 6 and this is 8, okay? And then we have another one, which is almost the same. The ending's just a little different, so we'll call it A prime, seconds will be what, 12 probably right there. We counted right. Again, it's not a period structure of any kind because it's all perfect authentic cadences, so you never have like a dependent clause and then a independent clause type question and answer. But that's okay. Be aggressive with your analysis. You don't have to slog through every one of these. Check and see if it looks like something else you've done. Your ears are really important. It's really funny. I'm working with a second-year student right now on some analysis that they're doing, and it's complicated. I might actually do a video on that later, just on that piece. But the texture is complicated. It's densely populated with weird, sort of like multi-layered writing in terms of, you know, like across the parts, and lots of non-chord tones. And sometimes you just look at it, and you know, you can see that for a student level, looking at it, it's hard to tease apart what's the chord tone and what's not the chord tone and things like that, and therefore what's the function even. But they've done enough training that I'll say like, well, what's this thing? And I'll play it, and they go, well, that sounds like a minor 7 chord. And I'd say, okay, good. And there's no accidentals, even though it's got a lot of sort of weird, sort of dense writing around it and things like that. So then, you know, we say, well, what's coming up next? And it's like, oh, we're coming to the cadence. And so he immediately, from his ear training side, said, well, minor 7 type chords going into a 5-1 kind of thing, it's probably a 2 chord. And then he has that in his head, figures out what is in the key, and then he can look and see that. And when he sees especially the left hand structures supporting that, then he can tease out what's a non-chord tone and all that kind of thing, and see the chords and the structures more clearly. But your use of chord progressions and cadences and how phrases work, right? And then looking at the left hand and then using the right hand to confirm the upper notes can help you sort of be aggressive and not kind of go like, what's this? What's this? What's this? What's this? What's this? What's this? At a basic level, that's good, but it takes a long time, and you're not taking advantage of all the other pieces of knowledge and tools you have, right? So, all right, hope that was useful.